Organizations around the world are currently obsessed with data. And this makes sense, right? Leaders believe that if they can just get the right data and the right information, then they'll make better decisions. Well, I'm here to tell you, that's not true. That actually leaders are fundamentally hardwired to make some pretty poor decisions. Add in the multiplier effect of big data, and we're talking about some very scary potential results. But there is a way out of this. Leaders can actually rewire themselves to stop behaving this way. They can actually rewire their own data. There's just one problem, which is this cannot be learned intellectually. You can't read it in a book or be told to stop behaving this way. We are so fundamentally hardwired not to be open in the way that I'm about to be open with you, that the only way that you can get access to this different way of being is to discover it for yourself. Well, how do you do that? You can start by being open. Start by listening to this conversation like you've never had a conversation like this before. Stop trying to figure it out or know where it's going. Just let it unfold. I invite you to set aside your normal way of listening, which is like a commentator up in the stands judging what's going on down there on the field. And instead, I invite you to listen like you're actually on the field, right here with me. Like everything I'm saying is about you and can make a real difference in your life. Like this conversation is about you. Are you willing to do that? Then let's begin. The first thing to get is that no matter who you are, what your title is, or how accomplished you are a human being. This is true for the COO, for the CEO, members of parliament, top scientists, renowned experts, everyone. We're all human. And as humans, we are fundamentally hardwired to hide. We all have experiences in our lives that teach us that hiding is safer. We take a risk, we put ourselves out there. And when we get shut down, we learn not to do that again. So we learn to hide aspects of who we are, things we think might make us look stupid or look bad. We hide from situations that might embarrass us. Even people's names. When was the last time you were in a conversation and you forgot someone's name? And instead of just asking them, what's your name? You waited and hoped that someone else would say it so that you could pretend like you knew it all along. We all hide. This is how it works. I'm 3 years old. I have this big yellow velour chair in my room and I'm standing on it and I'm holding a tube of lipstick. And I color the deepest, darkest red circle I can on my stomach. And now I'm covering the chair, my horse, with war paint. Oh yes, I am preparing for battle. And I am so excited. And then I hear something on the stairs. Dad's coming. And in that moment, I know I'm in trouble. As my dad walks in, I dive behind the chair. "Lisi," he says, "what are you up to?" And I just freeze and act like nothing. Like hoping he won't know that's me that did that to the chair. And that's it. In that moment, my brain hardwires a formula for hiding. This one works so that anytime I think I'm in trouble, I immediately act like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't know anything about that. And just like that, the wiring is in place. The year I get my driver's license, I get pulled over for doing 78 miles per hour in a 55. The officer walks up to my window and I tell him hysterically that it was impossible for me to know that I was going that fast. I cried. I actually believed myself. And that's the point, is I didn't sit there and decide how to respond. My hard wiring did. My brain went into its automatic mode of hiding and I had no say in the matter. But it gets worse because that wiring, it comes with us to work. So now I'm 28. I'm a leader. I lead teams all across the US. But when things go badly, I dive behind the chair. a staff member comes and tells me she has serious concerns about the way we're running some of our programs. And I just act like, I don't really know about that, doesn't make sense. But actually, I do. No matter how successful I am, I can't be with making mistakes. And I never get, it's because I'm desperately looking for somewhere to hide. I used to treat people awfully. What I did, I blamed my teams. That's the kind of leader I could be. Today, I have a choice. I don't treat people like that anymore. Our wiring to hide, to lie, to fake, it's pervasive. It runs you, and you don't even know it. Your hard wiring, not you, is making decisions every day, and you have no say at all. I do an exercise with senior leaders. I put them in an almost very embarrassing situation, almost. Right before embarrassment happens, I have them stop, and they get to see for the first time what their brains are doing. They see what they say to themselves, and they see what they do automatically with no chance of acting differently. In that moment, one woman saw that when she was 10 years old, she was standing in front of a class, and her teacher said to her, "You're not as smart as you think you are." 39 years later, she never spoke in meetings, and she didn't know why. What she saw that day was her wiring. She had decided if she ever spoke up, she might get found out for being stupid. So she stayed quiet. Now this woman speaks, and let's just say she is not stupid. So let's get a glimpse into how your brain is running your life with or without your permission. So wherever you are, I invite you to just gently close your eyes. Just close your eyes and just breathe. In and out. Just breathe. And start to notice the part of your brain that's about judging. What does it say to you? It might sound like this is a pretty dumb exercise, especially over video. It might sound like her voice is pretty annoying. Mine sounds like this room is freezing. Just breathe and start to notice the part of your brain that's about winning. It might say, I could give this talk better, or I would have picked a better topic. Mine says, I hope this is the most interesting TED Talk ever. Just notice. Notice that part of your brain that's about hiding and about looking good. It might sound like, I hope I don't look stupid with my eyes closed. It might say, if anyone asks, I'll say I was just playing along. Mine says, what were you thinking telling the whole world what a crap manager you used to be? Just notice. Your brain is constantly talking to you. All day long, it's manufacturing things. It's judging you and it's judging other people. It's trying to win. It's making sure you look good, that your faults are carefully hidden, and make darn sure you don't look stupid at work or in public. Just notice. That chatter in your brain, it never goes away. It's looking at data. It's making decisions. It's coming with you to one-on-ones. It's showing up at board meetings in every organization around the world. Now, open your eyes. Now you're starting to get a glimpse into what's happening, into who's making decisions really. Often, when I run workshops like this with senior leaders, I introduce myself the normal way. I'm Lisa Barrett, Yale University, I have an MBA from INSEAD, became a partner at age 27, I've won tons of awards, was a director at Coursera, set up a venture capital fund, was a chief scientific advisor and director of analysis at the UK Ministry of Justice, and responsible for one of the largest connected data projects in government, improving the ability to make decisions for millions of people, in fact, probably most of the country. That's who we say we are, right? Our CV. But what if we introduced ourselves differently? Like, who am I really? For example, one thing I don't normally share with people, but that did shape me, is that I grew up in a privileged family. And I remember taking some friends to my grandparents' house, and the way that they responded made me incredibly embarrassed. I never wanted to be seen that way again. So I started acting like I didn't have much money. I bought my clothes secondhand, and by the time I was in my 30s, I didn't feel comfortable spending money on myself at all. In fact, I felt guilty. After I was hit by a car, my boyfriend at the time begged me to get specialist medical care, and I told him I couldn't afford it. The way that I saw myself and hiding from how I grew up, it impacted how I treated myself and my relationships with other people. It impacted everything. Learning to be open about that has allowed me to take better care of myself. It's also allowed me to be proud of myself and the decisions I've made in my career, because I do care that everyone has access to the kind of opportunities that I had growing up. So the truth is, I am a successful business leader, but I'm also a human being. And when I introduce myself that way in a room, the whole room changes. Even now, maybe you can feel between us, we're in a completely different space from when we started. Because the truth is, underneath our wiring, we all want to be seen. What does this have to do with data? Everything. Do you know how difficult it is for a senior leader to say that they don't have a clue what the blockchain is? That they don't have any idea whether it's even relevant to their organization or not? Do you know how impossible it can feel as a senior leader to be handed a proposal or a set of algorithms or a technical product and be able to say, I don't understand this? Our brains will always tell us to hide. That is how we are wired. But it doesn't have to be that way. I first saw this in very stark relief when I worked alongside the guys who literally built Netflix. These guys are legendary. And what I noticed is they just kept asking really simple questions. They would say things like, how does it work? Show me. Or, I don't understand, why are we doing this? They would stop presentations and say, I'm sorry, I just don't get it. Can you walk it through again? Can you do it step by step? This is incredibly rare. Leaders are not naturally inclined to admit when we don't get stuff. And I'm talking about decision makers all over the world who are more likely to pretend than to say, I don't actually understand this massive decision we're making. These are people running major corporations with vast amounts of personal data who are investing heavily in artificial intelligence. These are policymakers who are writing the rules for how privacy, the exchange of information, the economy, and personal rights will be dictated in the future. These are the people running companies and countries around the world. They're all obsessed with data, and they should be, but they should get very interested in the data in their own heads. Because as I told you at the beginning, this is not something you can just be told or read in a book. You won't just start acting differently. You have to discover it for yourself. But when you discover something for yourself, like maybe you started to discover something for yourself here today, you will always have that. And the desire to hide, by the way, never goes away. I consider myself to be a sort of expert in these things, and yet I found myself massively hiding at the beginning of COVID. I started a job in a new company as an exec, and as I got on Zoom and met my colleagues, I realized there was something I really didn't want them to know. And that's that I don't have children. Because my brain was telling me, how can you be a real exec if you don't have kids? Did it impact my ability to make good decisions? You bet it did. I was spending most of the time thinking about not having that conversation than paying attention to anything that we were meant to be talking about. It really took something for me to tell my colleagues, not only that I don't have kids, but this massive story I'd created about it. But when I did, it was hugely freeing. And the thing is, I want to be a great leader. And great leaders have to constantly give up hiding. I don't think the world wants more leaders who are going to stand up and pretend they've got it all figured out, that they have all the answers. I think the world wants people who are going to stand up and say, I don't know, but we'll figure it out together. Not hiding is so not normal, but it's necessary for greatness and for the type of leadership that makes any kind of real difference with people and for being fully alive. And I know that if you're on the edge of this thing, if you've been pretending for a long time, then this sounds terrifying. Like, what if you don't have all the answers? What if you have to put up your hand and say, I have been pretending. I don't understand this stuff. What if you're a senior leader, you're meant to have it all figured out, and you really don't? Well, welcome to the club. Thank you for being bigger than the need to hide.